to raise consciousness. I'm your MC, Stephanie James. Thrilled to have you all here with us today. You know, a little bit about me. I'm a psychotherapist and transformation coach. I'm also a filmmaker, author, and podcast host. And actually, it was on my podcast that my life was changed in December when I had Steve Farrell, co-founder of Humanities Team, as a guest. And from that conversation, Steve invited me to have my film Would Sparks Ignite on the Humanities Stream platform. And it was such a joy. I have to tell you, the more I learned about Humanities Team, the more I wanted to be a part of it. Their mission to make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040, the more I heard about it, the more I said, I want to join Humanities Team as well. So began volunteering to be a part of the team. And one of the wonderful things too is that it's not just a team. This is a family, and this is a global family. And so that's one of the wonderful things. There was such alignment with their platform, supporting people on their conscious journeys. So together we can create a sustainable earth and flourish at every level of life. You know, and there's never been a more imperative time for us than now to join together in creating a more conscious global family. So thank you so much for joining us. At this point, I would love to share with you so you learn a little bit more about Humanities Team in this short film. Over to you, Jim.
Ancient scholars spoke of humanity being interconnected with all things, that our planet and everything on it is one giant ecosystem, living and breathing together, interdependent and reliant on each other. Yet all our lives we have been told that we are separate, that we have no control over our own fates, that what happens to us is somebody else's fault. We live in isolation from each other, dividing ourselves by our beliefs, our locations, our appearances. We see other people on the planet as resources to be used, not as a greater whole, of which we are but a small part. But the truth is we have a choice. We can keep living under what Albert Einstein referred to as the illusion of separation. Or we can recognize the interconnectedness of all things and embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature. We can open our eyes to the simple fact that we have the power to create a sustainable and flourishing planet by living into this awakened consciousness on a daily basis. Here at Humanities Team, we choose awakened consciousness. Our mission is to make conscious living pervasive worldwide by the year 2040. Many believe that when 8 to 10% of humanity is engaged in conscious living, we will reach a planetary tipping point where everyone will gradually adopt these same practices and ideals. This means we need 800 million people to become conscious expressions of oneness on this earth. Our Changing Humanity's Future initiative is designed to help achieve that mission. And we're gathering tens of thousands of people who make the same choice every day. Our revolutionary transformational education platform, Humanities Stream Plus, has grown from 427 subscribers in November 2021 to 3,125 as of November of 2023. We have hosted 14 Global Oneness Summits in the last 14 years. In 2022 alone, we reached 200,000 participants who attended 31 panels and engaged with 100+ speakers who shared their insights and wisdom. We reached more than 1 million people across several social media channels, close to 2 million people by email, and our podcast has been downloaded 363,000 times and counting. Our numbers are growing steadily, and we have made substantial progress, but there is more to be done. Together, we can do this. We have one planet. We have one shared future. We are all on one path forward. We are all one.
I'm Loredana from Humanities Team Romania. And don't forget, we are all one. Suntem cu toții una.
Todos somos uno.
Nitwa Ladislas Undabanyanga, mpagarariye Humanity Team iwacu mu Rwanda. Murakoze.
I'm Bibi from Humanities Team Trinidad and Tobago, and we are all one.
Hola, soy Said de Humanities Team Perú. Todos somos uno.
हम सब एक हैं.
We are all one.
We are all one.
So beautiful. I absolutely am so inspired by that video, and I know you all are as well. And the program up ahead for you, this event, we are sharing so many amazing luminaries, thought leaders, change makers in the world with you today. And I'm so excited for you to hear their message. But first of all, I'd like to share with you a little bit about what Humanities Stream Plus has to offer that helps to make this a reality, bringing this new level of consciousness available to so many people. So I will share my screen. And let you see here amazing offerings that we have. You can see here that we have the Canada and so many wonderful master classes.
Stephanie, we can't see the share screen right now.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I have it on shared screen, and for some reason it's one moment, please. I will get there. Forgive me. Let's see. Steve, can you do your shared screen and I can speak to it? For some reason, it's not allowing me to share my screen right now.
Yeah, let me do that. Hold a sec here.
I got it ready if you want me to, Steve.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay, and Jim is going to share screen here. And if it's a challenge, we can just skip this part.
For some reason, it is not on my
Here we go.
computer.
Okay, now it's on.
Okay, I apologize, everyone. I am not able to see it on my screen for some reason.
So I can see it.
Okay, go ahead, Steve. If you'll speak to it, and then I can
share.
come in for the next
Sure.
part. Thank you.
Okay, so look, this is the library. Okay, this is not a website. This is the we are the largest global streaming platform for consciousness raising, masterclasses, and transformational education programs. And if that sounds like a lot, it is. So from our Humanities Team homepage, you can just scroll down and it says enter library. And when you click on that button, you come here. Okay, here we are in the library. It has this cursor over feature. There's cursor over, see where it gives you a short synopsis on the particular masterclass. Look at all these programs. Look at the bottom where it says 34 videos with this Ting Ting Guam, or 36 videos with this Bruce Lipton program, or 42 videos with this Awaken Yourself So James Van Prague, it's an amazing library. You can actually scroll all day in here. So when you're a member of Humanity Stream Plus, of course, it's a year-long subscription. It's got a monthly, it's got an annual. The annual is $2.99 a year. And wow, you take even one of these master classes and it's life-changing. It's transformational. We'll get to that here during this program today. And then you take 2 or 3 and you're living a whole different life. And there's so many dimensions to conscious living. Suzanne Giesemann's here with us, who gets into mediumship and oneness. And Debra Poneman's here, who gets into all kinds of things, being a powerful person, longevity and living. Ken Honda is here. Neale Donald Walsch is here. So these master classes go in quite different directions. I have my own master classes here. Stephanie James does as well. And this is the thing, when we talk about raising consciousness, there just are many dimensions to it. And the way we see it is like there are thousands of paths to the mountaintop that we call conscious living, or oneness, or diversity and unity, or divinity, right? Or unified field, or cosmos, or universe, right? There are lots of terms we can use. So, and some people like the scientists, others like the more spiritual programs. Others want the embodied practices. Others want conscious business. So good. We put all of the best faculty here on the platform. So we just wanted to show you this. It's an amazing thing. Suzanne shares as she comes on to these programs with us, and Debra too, probably they all do, of wow, if only the world knew, because an entry-level masterclass is like $349 now. And remember what I just said, $299 for a year for these hundreds of programs. And then there are live programs and the Global Oneness Summit and completion certificates and all these things that are part of this community and the streaming platform called Humanity Stream Plus. And back over to you, Stephanie.
Yeah, I think that is the joy, Steve. There is so much content available here, and the most online streaming educational material and consciousness in the world. So that is one of the really thrilling things about being a part of this platform. And so I am going to actually introduce Steve Farrell to all of you. Many of you may know him, but he's going to be our first guest today speaking about this. Steve Farrell is the co-founder and worldwide executive director of Humanity's Team. Last year, Steve published his acclaimed memoir, A New Universal Dream: My Journey from Silicon Valley to a Life in Service to Humanity. It's an inspiring story of finding his true life's calling and the lessons he gathered along the way. Steve resonates deeply in divine truth of oneness and is being called to consciously participate in creating a flourishing and awakened world. Thank you so much, Steve.
Stephanie, thank you. Thank you for that generous introduction. And thank you also to all of the speakers that are here with us today and the viewers that are here as a part of this program. So let's see, I want to share screen here. I'm going to try it. And oh, good. Look at mine. Worked. All right. So can you all see that okay? Okay, so this is, everybody that has come to the program, they've seen kind of how we're framing this program, right? A campaign to raise global consciousness by 2040 through recognizing the oneness of humanity and all of life. So that's really what we're getting to here. We're calling it also raising capital to raise consciousness. So why is this important? Because I made a pretty strong statement right here just a little bit ago where I was saying, honestly, this is not, and I come from Silicon Valley, which kind of has got some spin, a lot of sales and marketing. This is no sales and marketing, I promise you. We really are, it's important and it's urgent that we elevate consciousness, we raise consciousness. And we need look no further than a couple of Einstein quotes. I'll share more here as I share with you briefly, but this one quote of his that said, no problem is solved, right, at the level of consciousness that created it. So all of these things that are going on out in today's world, as long as we're seeing this optical delusion which is the separation, right? We're on the screen, our eyes sort of deceive us, right? So because it looks like I'm separate from you, we're separate from each other, we're separate from the earth. We could treat the earth like a warehouse, right? Just with resources. And unfortunately, many of us do in today's world. But here's one more Einstein quote that I want to open up with, because it gets to kind of the importance and urgency of what this issue is, and then the remedy, which is right here, right now. That's very simple, and it's science-backed. Okay, and so he says a human being is a part of a whole called by us the universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, and therefore our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by embracing the widening our circles of compassion to all living creatures in the whole of nature and its beauty. Now, that one quote is humanities team at 21 years old, both the problem and the solution. And I also want to share, because I think you all are seeing the same thing, there's an explosion right now of articles, right, of scientific research. Popular Mechanics, which is a mainstream magazine, just watch the articles coming out now with this scientific research of, oh my gosh, that we're actually connected to the whole, to each other and to the earth and the whole of the universe. And a recent article that came out that we were passing around in the humanities team said this consciousness is actually at a cellular level. So the 37 trillion cells in our body are actually conscious, which is why, you know, I go and scratch my nose and I don't have to think about it healing. It just heals by itself. Our bodies are conscious at a cellular level. So this whole thing that we've believed growing up, because science taught us, right, this Newtonian Darwinian science that I'm separate from you and you're separate from me and the earth, etc. And we can just treat the earth as we want, as a warehouse or refrigerator, that it's actually just not true. We grew up with a science that is not true. Ultimate reality is other than what we were taught. So here is then this urgency that humanity is in a race against time if we're going to preserve our beautiful planet for future generations. And let me add, for our kids and future generations. We are in a race against time right now. Okay, and here is, of course, this quote that I'm focusing on here. The first domino, or the source of these challenges that are out in the world, is this greatest, what Einstein called the greatest illusion in the world, is this illusion of separation. As long as we think we're separate and the earth is just like a warehouse, why not just hit the accelerator and become a gazillionaire, as so many are, right? And because what's wrong with that? I'm not connected to you or the earth or the divine or the universe, right? So here we go a little deeper. By the way, I want to just say that you'll see what we're going to share is actually incredibly hopeful and with incredible possibility, with incredible belief in the future, because that's where we are coming from. And I'll even go so far as to say the hardest part of this journey, I believe, is behind us. Okay, so I want to just bring that in as I share a little more of the challenge in today's world that we're all too familiar with. So we were talking coming onto the program today, right? The heat wave, right? It's going to hit here in Colorado over the weekend, spin over in New York and Pennsylvania. It was in London a year ago. I was in London just a week ago Monday, you know, talking to them. They're all too familiar with the heat wave, 104 degrees in London. You know, London isn't hot like that. And heat wave, I mean, look at Hurricane Beryl, right? Category 5 hurricane in the Caribbean, June 30 and July 1, Category 5 hurricane. Those don't come until mid to late August. And so you're seeing these articles, 124, 126 degrees in Southern California, a motorcycle rider passed away. So here, this illusion of separation brings in this whole, at an individual level, loneliness, exhaustion, discouragement, anxiety. Okay, if we know that we're never separate, and again, this is a conscious group, so we know this. We all have our daily practice. There's no such thing as alone, right? There's no such thing as alone. And Stephanie shared, she's a psychotherapist. You know, a lot of the anxiety is from, I feel alone. I'm just here by myself. There is no God here. There's no other person here. It's a fiction. Okay. And we know this from our daily practice. It's a fiction. My gosh, we are never alone. So these things, fatigue and exhaustion and discouragement and anxiety and depression and stuff, man, you know, in your daily practice where we're one with the source of the whole doggone universe, this Nassim Harriman, you know, you are inseparable from the universe. You're sovereign to it. Man, you ought to be walking with the most amazing posture, right? So that's where we come from as awake. Now, but staying with, haven't had our awakening experience yet, of course, then all this other stuff, global warming, extreme weather, overuse of planetary resources, war, polarity, extreme poverty, all of these things. So all of these things, again, goes back to that first domino, the very first domino that falls, the source of it all, which is this whole notion that we're separate from each other. Okay, which is why Humanities Team, a 21-year-old nonprofit, has been focusing on this from the very beginning. This is the whole reason we were founded in June 2003 in Wilsonville, Oregon. From the stage, Neale and I shared, no, we are all one. We are all one. Mystics have been sharing this over time. Science is catching up now. The explosion of articles. You don't need to believe anything spiritual or follow Ken Wilber or all quadrants, all levels, or any of it. Just read the science and it'll take you there. So this is why then, as we talk about raising capital to raise consciousness, here's how we're raising consciousness. So we are the largest global streaming platform in the whole world right now for consciousness raising, masterclasses, and transformational education. And new programs are translated in 75 languages, which is incredible. We have country coordinators in 65 countries. I had the country coordinator from England there with me in London, which was fantastic a week ago Monday. Here's what we were called to. Okay, it's part of why we've got this meeting going here today. So it was a calling. This came to us. We didn't just whiteboard this on our own. It was make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040 in 16 years. Okay, tipping point, 10%. What is that? 800 million people. How many people on the planet? 8 billion people. Okay, that's the calling. 800 million people in living in this elevated consciousness, which is this deeply connected world where we understand this oneness of all things. And bam, as we know how tipping point works, right? People are feeling the experience of this and others, and they say, I like that. And we start all living into it. That's a big calling. That's a big calling in 16 years, 800 million people. Okay, we have, as you know, have a one-for-one program where people that can't afford this conscious journey, which is true for many people, especially outside the US, that we give away a free subscription. So here's more science. Again, the science is everywhere. And there's a quote here from David Bohm, a quote from Erwin Schrödinger, and then you can see all these notables on screen. These are only a few of the notables that share we are all one. Transformational. Okay, this is so huge. I shared the Nassim Harriman thing, a physicist. This guy's a scientist. He's not a spiritual leader. You know, saying you want to walk around with the most amazing posture and be self-empowered in an incredible way because the universe cannot be without you. And then in my book, I talk about this billionaire guy who had all the houses, and he owned an NFL team, and you know, like antique cars and all this stuff. And he said, Steve, I never found it until I was 80 years old. I had all these things, and I didn't find it until I started my wheelchair foundation. I kind of saw this connection thing, and people that didn't have mobility, it's not only that person, but the whole family would carry the person around all day. Whole family was constrained by that. So I just started giving away wheelchairs. So from 80 to 93 when he passed, this is all Ken Baring. You could Google this guy. This is what he did. He flew around the world to give away wheelchairs. He said, I found it. I finally found it. starting living into this deeply connected thing, his personal awakening experience. We all have that story. We're gathering up those stories and sharing those now. Okay, so here's the thing when we raise consciousness. So Ken was called to wheelchairs. Okay, I was called to humanities team. We're all called to something. We can't do everything, but we can do something. We're all called to something. Okay, this is part of what living into this deeply connected or one world is. So look at this list, which is not pie in the sky. Every living being's needs are met. Extreme poverty is no more. Natural resources are used appropriately to return balance to the earth. Military conflict and war cease to exist. Okay, you get where I'm going. Why is this not pie in the sky? Each of you, because this is a conscious audience, ask yourself, is it true for you? Every living being's needs would be met? Suzanne was just sharing with me, she and her husband just gave their sailboat away. I think it was to an orphanage. We all are doing these things, right? It's what we do when we're conscious. Go right down this list. Yep. No, could never. Human trafficking. Are you kidding me? There's no way human trafficking could exist on this earth, right? Clean water, empowerment, all of these things. Okay, so this is why we're saying raising capital to raise consciousness. So this one is done here at the top. There was Trent Block. He's with us right now on the program. Okay, Trent caught me walking out the door. Ross Hostetter and I were off to Cannes, France to share this recently. And there was all kinds of expense around it. And Trent got out his calculator and says, well, Steve, it looks to me like you guys need 80,000. How about I send you a check for 40,000? It'll be a match. You got to get the other 40 and then you have your 80. It's done. That 40 is in from both sides. It's done. Now we're here and we are in a huge, this is like a critical stage for us. Phase 1, $1.5 million. Put the team in place and begin the public awareness. So people like, we've got Ross Hostetter here. Just, he's on a teeny little stipend. We have Paul Tarell here, Chief Financial Officer from Gaia. He's on a teeny little stipend. Okay, these guys need to come on full time. We need to be, we're flying around the world raising public awareness. Public awareness. Do you know how much 2 organizations in our space spend, Mind Valley and Gaia? $3 million a month on public awareness. You know how much we spend? $5,000 a month. 3 million a month, 5,000 a month. How much public awareness are we going to have now, right? So this is critical that we get this done now. We got to get Ross and Paul on the team. We got to get out in the world raising public awareness. And then we're on to phase 2, which even is a bigger ask. But we do have, our subscription platform. So as we grow our organization, we have this regenerative feature, which is really cool. Most nonprofits don't, where we've got enormous sums of money coming in simply from the subscription platform. So we can become self-funding. Okay, so this brings me to my close here for my particular talk, which is this whole raising capital to raise consciousness thing. So in Humanities team, we're making huge investments. Stephanie and I remain actually the largest donors to Humanities team, even this year. But I'm not going to embarrass faculty. We have faculty that have written a check for 25,000. There's an anonymous donor that may be here that wrote a check for 500,000. The team that's here, I'm sorry to say, is in the bottom quadrant of compensation, including half the organization, including me, that doesn't have a paycheck at all. So we're making a massive investment. But if we're going to do this, 800 million people in 16 years, we can't do it alone. So that's why we're inviting you to come in to contribute to, if you have kids, nieces, nephews, and you're worried about their future, hey, come close to us, partner with us. We can do this. We are doing this. And with that, I'm going to go back over to you, Stephanie. Thank you all for your attention here.
Thank you, Steve. I'm so reminded of my own message on my multiple platforms, which is your period healing period matters, period, which also is your contribution matters. because as you contribute, you become the pebble in the pond, and the concentric circles of healing and consciousness spread this awareness around the globe. So thank you, Steve, so much for that really important message. Our next guest is Neale Donald Walsch. So you're in for a treat. He is the author of the Conversations with God book series and the other co-founder of Humanity's Team and the Changing Humanity's Future Initiative. Neale is also a spiritual messenger whose timely words have touched millions of lives. His profound insights into the nature of reality and human spirituality have enlightened millions around the globe. So welcome, Neale.
Thank you, Steve. And thanks for everything you've done since we've co-created Humanity's Team to turn it into a meaningful reality in today's world. Oh, and thanks to all of you who are watching right now, because it is your interest and your joining with us in what we are doing that makes our global undertaking not just possible, but really and truly doable in every place and nation. And my friends, I can't remember a time when working together toward fulfilling this mission was more urgently needed on our planet. It's important and urgent that we awaken from the illusion of separation, which permeates so much of our culture, so that we can live into our larger self, individually and collectively, and help humankind to make our world what we wish it to be, not the outpicturing of a long and frightful nightmare that we see being created in so many places on Earth. It's time to awaken now. And we can bring about that awakening if we join hands in sharing the most healing, the most meaningful, the most important information that could be placed before our world's people right now. In 4 words, we are all one. Now, if you've read the Conversations with God books, you know that this is the very first message we were given in 3,000 pages of dialogue. Message number 1. We are all one. And the work of Humanity's Team is based on that message. We know that it is the separation that we see increasing in our everyday experience that is allowing so many of our world's troubles to proliferate. These days and times, our species is not allowing itself to feel not only separated from each other, but sadly, and in far too many cases, actually alienated from others. Many people seem to have lost their ability to disagree agreeably. They're turning their differences into divisions, turning their contrasts into conflicts, turning their individuations into separations. Many people in today's society have decided this is a time to be taking sides, sometimes on even the smallest issues. And people are being killed because of the largest issues. Now, if you're anything like me, I'm sure you've been wondering, with everyone taking sides, who will be on Humanity's Team? That's what this moment in our history is about. And that's what this program that you're now watching is about. Humanity's Team has grown to include chapters in 65 countries. People just like you across the global map are joining together to do what they can to help raise the collective consciousness in ways that can bring more and more of our companions on this life journey to a place of clarity that we are all one, that individuation does not have to produce separation, that the contrasts between us to not have to generate conflicts between us. People in all nations are searching for answers. And this is the moment for the world to come together, to become clear that our problems are not political problems, and they will never be solved by political means. Likewise, they're not economic problems, and they will not be solved by economic means. And they are certainly not military problems. So they will never be solved by using military might to force a solution. The problem facing humanity today is a spiritual problem. It has to do with our beliefs, our most sacred beliefs. And that's where every member of humanity's team comes in. By joining together to place a new message before people everywhere, we can help create what sociologists call critical mass. That's a point at which enough people see and embrace a new way of being in the world to change the world. You may not know this, but Humanity's Team provides the largest global streaming platform for consciousness-raising masterclasses and transformational education on the internet. As I've mentioned, we are supporting people globally on the conscious journey. Our 65 country coordinators actively support this activism because they believe that in raising consciousness, in raising awareness, in raising involvement and participation, in eliminating separation, this planet's inhabitants can provide for people and the planet's basic needs. I hope you will see this as your opportunity to make a difference in our day and times. And one way you can help us is, yes, by donating if you can. Humanity's Team is putting into place the resources to support the raising consciousness of 800 million people. That's 10% of the global population. And we need your support to do this. We need to raise $1.5 million as soon as possible to support this endeavor. We will raise, ultimately, 100 million over 5 years, but the first step is to raise 1.5 million as soon as possible, so we have the resources to place into the world, the resources to get started and to move quickly. So please, if you can, please, give generously, my friends. Every contribution counts. Your contribution can change a life. So thank you for doing what you can do.
Thank you, Neale. You know, this also reminds me in my film, When Sparks Ignite, Stephanie Schwartz, renowned scientific researcher, speaks to this 10% and how essential it is. He speaks about whether it's a community, a church, a school, when 10% of that population has a shift in paradigm, a shift in belief, a shift in frequency and consciousness, the whole cohort has to adjust. And that's what we're doing here. So excited to have you be a part of this shift happening for our planet. Our next guest is Olivia Hansen. She is president and founder of the Spiritual Life TV channel and the Synthesis Foundation. She's a member of the Evolutionary Leader Circle and is a longtime teacher of the Ageless Wisdom. Olivia collaborates with organizations and people of consciousness who advance ideas of oneness and cooperation to benefit all people of our world. So welcome, Olivia.
Thank you, Stephanie. And hello, friends. It's so good to be with you. And it's wonderful to hear about Steve and Humanity's Team's outstanding efforts and accomplishments to advance oneness and conscious living and its goals for the future. We need shining examples and role models who express and live these ideas of oneness and can inspire and encourage everyone in their own lives. That's why the Spiritual Life TV channel has selected Steve and Humanity's team as the recipients of its 2024 Oneness of Humanity Award, which goes to outstanding persons or organizations that exemplify the oneness of all humanity. The first Oneness of Humanity Award honoree was His Holiness the Dalai Lama in 2023, who is certainly an outstanding role model of oneness and kindness and compassion and joy. And last year, I and my co-workers traveled to Dharamsala, India, to present the Oneness of Humanity Award to the Dalai Lama. And this year, Steve is our outstanding recipient now, and Humanity's team. And he, of course, lives in Boulder, Colorado. And I live in Denver, Colorado. So this year's travel to present the Oneness of Humanity Award is going to be a whole lot quicker than going to Dharamsala. But I would gladly fly to another continent to present this award to Steve and Humanity's team. Yes. Our presentation ceremony and celebration will be on August 16th in Boulder. And I'm sure Humanity's team viewers will have an opportunity to see it online. The Oneness of Humanity Award comes with a $25,000 grant because we know how important funding is for a dynamic organization like Humanity's team to expand and grow and meet its service goals, like making conscious living pervasive globally by 2040. This magnificent goal calls for many, many donations from all of us and more people to reach that goal, which will change our world in such a glorious way. Wow. And the Global Oneness Summit, held each year with so many outstanding presenters and programs, is made available to everyone online for free. And that takes a lot of time, effort, and resources to produce, which also needs funding. Over 400,000 people have participated, with more joining each year. So that is terrific. And as mentioned, Humanity's Stream offers 175 master classes from leading faculty in the consciousness field, which are translated into other languages for the global audience. I love the fact that Humanity's team has 65 country coordinators on the ground to help share this message of oneness globally. So you can see why the Spiritual Life TV channel selected Steve and Humanity's team for the Oneness of Humanity Award for its significant worldwide service. And these amazing activities need our support and funding. And that brings me to another initiative, one that I am collaborating on with Steve and Humanity's team and Diane Williams. We are working together to create a United Nations Global Oneness Day. We're collaborating with United Nations leaders and those affiliated with the UN who can support a resolution in the UN for this day. Humanities team first began working for this 15 years ago. And now, with renewed effort, won't that be wonderful when a Global Oneness Day on September 25th is established by the United Nations and is celebrated around the world? It will remind everyone of our interconnectedness and oneness, and it will advance collaborations and harmony all over the world. So please add your good thoughts and energies to this ongoing effort. Friends, it's a joy to be with you and to honor Steve and Humanities team and to urge our support and funding for Humanities team programs and efforts for everyone to help bring our world together for the world well-being of everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Olivia, and congratulations to Steve Farrell and all of Humanities team. That is absolutely thrilling. We have a slight change in the order today. Our next guest is going to be Debra Poneman, and Debra is a true pioneer in the world of transformation. She has appeared in print throughout the world, on TV shows from coast to coast, and for more than 40 years through her Yes to Success seminars. She has shared the tools and techniques to live a life of transformation with hundreds of thousands of people around the world. Welcome, Debra.
Well, thank you so much, and congratulations, Steve. I didn't know about that honor. So well deserved. And thank you, Olivia and Stephanie and Neale, and especially thank you to all of you who are here from all over the world. I was just looking in the chat. We have Veronica from Paris and Phil from Washington State, and we have Carol from Switzerland and Louise from Panama, and Lynette from the UK, David also from London, Kathleen from Arkansas. I mean, this is a truly global endeavor here, and what a treat for all of us to be together as a one world family to hear about and to honor the very lofty yet achievable vision of Humanities team to make conscious living pervasive around the world by 2040. Every year it gets closer and closer. We're going to do it. And as Steve said, humanity is in a race against time. And many feel that the challenges are insurmountable. But here at Humanities team, we don't think so. The reality is that there are solutions. The first time I was invited to be a part of Humanities team was as a panelist for an event called the Global Oneness Day. It was about 11 or 12 years ago. And I remember I'd never heard of Humanities team before. And I remember thinking, wow, this must be an amazing group of people to be working so hard to put on an event to create global oneness. And when I discovered that the group was called Humanities Team, I was even more excited and curious about who these people were. Because what is a team? It's a group of people who come together with a common purpose. And here was a team formed not to win a game for their team of 5 people or their, a World Series for a group of 20, but to win on behalf of humanity. It was Humanities team. And when this team wins, everyone wins, because it is about raising the vibration of the entire planet. Their mission isn't about changing the future for some, but if Humanities team succeeds, it would change the future for everyone on the planet. So I became an active team member, first by being a speaker, then a host during Global Oneness Day, which then became Global Oneness 3 days, and then Global Oneness 4 days, and then Global Oneness 5 days. And because more and more amazing panelists want to be a part of this. And then I created a master class with the incredible Christy Whitman called A New Kind of Power. And then I became a part of the Humanities Team Advisory Board. And it's an honor. And you know what? The vision that I saw this team had 12 years ago just continues to get stronger and the commitment greater. And I'm truly happy to be on a team that's taking action. No one on this team waste their time putting their attention on what's wrong with the world, because we know, as the great teacher Maharishi Mahesh Yogi once said, what we put our attention on grows in our life. So here we put our attention on, we do not put our attention on what's wrong and constantly talk about because that's just fueling what's wrong and fueling the fire. And there are a lot of fires on the planet right now, both literal and figurative, but the members of this team don't waste their precious breath talking about how the world is going down. No, the conversation at Humanities Team is all about what can we do? How can we serve? How can we contribute to a world that works for everyone? And then offering powerful knowledge and programs, ways to awaken each person's own individual consciousness. And as more and more people become awake, one day there will be enough awake people that there will be a state change on the planet. You know what, like when water starts to boil, a moment will happen when all of humanity, we will reach that critical mass that Steve and Neale both mentioned. We'll reach that critical mass, that moment when all of humanity will spontaneously wake up and recognize, I can't remember, I think Steve even gave us a number of what that is, but it will recognize that we are all one. Neale said it 3 times. We are all one, that we are a one world family. And speaking of Neale, even as in his conversation with God books that he began writing in the 1990s, God, through Neale, makes it clear that if we want to create a world where we come together as one, a world bathed in love, a world that works for everyone, if we want to change humanity's future, we have to take action. We can't just wish it. And that's why we're here today, is because we have it on good or God authority that the time to take action is now, not tomorrow, not my least favorite day, which is someday. Now is the time we need to act. And Steve and Neale and the team at Humanities Team are laying out the steps. Global oneness is not a pipe dream. Science is even on our side. Albert Einstein said many years ago that everything in creation, I know Steve loves to quote this, that everything in creation is made up of energy. And in fact, he said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. I'm sure Steve has a slide for that. And I want to add this, Nobel laureate physicist Eugene Wigner further clarified that our consciousness is at its basis made up of the same fundamental energy, and our consciousness and our thoughts can affect matter. So when our consciousness vibrates with peace and love and coherence, with joy, with excitement about new ideas and goals, it creates ripples of high vibration energy throughout the underlying unbounded field of consciousness. And these ripples influence the entire field, the entire world, and the consciousness of others. So Humanities Team provides us with wisdom from dozens and dozens of the world's greatest transformational teachers that not only spark in us the desire to adopt behaviors that raise our own consciousness, they inspire us to behaviors like gratitude, like intentioning for others, like we learned from Lynn McTaggart, who's one of the Humanities Stream contributors, behaviors like meditating and using our breath and chanting and singing and drumming and doing yoga and praying and being voices for conscious living. And as fantastic as it may seem, cutting edge research published in highly reputable peer-reviewed journals, that research has repeatedly shown us that when a sufficiently large number of people come together, like during Global Oneness Week or Humanities Team's master classes, when that sufficiently large group of people has a collective experience of positivity or of high vibration excitement, it produces a measurable shift in the collective consciousness of the world. I'm sure it's happening right now because there's people from all over the world. And there have been documented studies here in the US based on FBI crime statistics that during times when groups of people are gathered for good, significant reductions in crime have been measured, as well as reductions in violence and wars and accidents and hospitalizations. It's that critical mass that Neale mentioned. All of this has taken place. And also, when sufficient numbers of people come together, it increases peace and wellness and mental and physical well-being for the whole world. It's the ripple effect. It even increases the stock market. There's literally nothing that coming together doesn't influence in a positive manner. This phenomenon is actually one of the most thoroughly documented social science phenomenons in history. And how reliable is the data? Well, the probability of these finding these results just by chance is less than 5%. So you should be proud of yourself for being here today, right off the bat, and which brings us back to the here and now. Personally, I feel so grateful for even having the opportunity to be a part of a team with such wide-reaching potential for good. Being a part of Humanities Team is a gift to yourself, a chance to get good karma by contributing to the upliftment of the world. So I invite you to take advantage of this opportunity in front of you. Join us, support Humanities Team capital raising campaign. Steve talked about being called to something. I hope you're called to help our efforts to create a new world, a better world for all of humanity. As Steve often says, we are just one decision away from changing humanity's future. And as Neale heard the question many years ago from God, who will be on Humanities Team? And we hope the answer is all of you. We're in this together. I hope you can contribute, be a part of our initiative, donate what you can. We can do this thing. So thanks for being here and welcome to Humanities Team.
Thank you so much, Debra, for your energy, for your beautiful message and inspiration. Our next guest is the wonderful Suzanne Giesemann. And Suzanne is a spiritual teacher, author, and messenger of hope who guides people to the certainty that love never dies and that we are all a part of a multidimensional universe. She serves as faculty with Humanities Team and the Shift Network, sharing the mission of helping people throughout the world awaken to the interconnectedness of all life. So happy to have you here, Suzanne.
So thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Steve. Thank you to the whole Humanities Team and everybody behind the scenes. I sit here listening to everybody talk about conscious living. And at one level, it's a great term, but what does it mean to us on the inside? What does it really mean to be living consciously? To me, it means to be aware that you are both human and a soul. And what is the soul? Well, the soul is this spacious being of light. It doesn't even have form like a body. So that's where the oneness comes in, because all souls just flow and merge and dance with each other as the light beings that we are. Now that sounds silly as I say it, but if you knew my background as a military officer, you'd understand that I've come a long way in my journey to awakening. I was not living consciously for most of my life. I thought we are only human. And that's the challenge, that still we haven't reached that tipping point. Most people still think this life and these bodies make up the entirety of our lives, and that when the body ends, we end. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. So the three ways that we come to be conscious, I call it awakened living, you call it whatever you want, conscious living, is through what I call the 3 E's. educate yourself about who we really are, not only human, but both human and a soul. And Humanities Stream is the best way I know to do that academically, using videos, using all the resources of Humanities Team. I mean, what a resource. You saw Steve talking about it, and the cost is it's unmatched in anything else online. $299 for a full year of every class on the platform. So educate yourself about who you are. But equally important is experience for yourself that you are a soul through spiritual practices. And when you're doing those practices, engage. That's the third E. Engage higher consciousness. Get outside your normal objective interactions with others. Go within and find out just how limitless you are. I never expected when I wore a military uniform that I would one day be a member of Humanities Team, that I would one day be working as a medium and connecting people with loved ones. But it's the evidence from connecting with souls that changed my life. And I remember one reading that I did for a woman by phone. I couldn't see her, and I didn't know who she wanted to connect with. But because we're all beings of light, I just merged with intention with her soul family. And I said, "Oh, you have a son who passed." She said, "Yes, I do." I said, "He's telling me he took his own life." "Yes, he did." He said, "Mom, we don't need to talk about that. We've already dealt with that. I just want to let you know that I'm here and that all is good now." So that's a little evidence, a little messages. I said to his mom, "He's talking about something about you has lifted. And she started laughing. She said, "I just got a facelift." So this is just one of these great moments when we see that those across the veil are still part of our family here, because we really are one family of humanity and as souls. Now, in that reading, I loved this moment when I said, "Your son is showing me a rainbow that goes from his heart in the spirit world to your heart." And he says, "Mom, the connection is good. You're going to love this." She said, "Well, I am so glad to hear that, because lately I've been trying a technique in meditation to connect better with my son. And I've been visualizing a rainbow from my heart to his. And I swear I sense him more when I do that." I mean, what better validation could we want that her son is really connected to her and that that technique works? So there's one tool for you right there. And I love when she said, "Can you ask him what he's doing in the spirit world?" So I asked him, and I said, "He says he's practicing peacefulness, and he's taking a lotus position and going, Om." And she said, "That's good, because he could never calm his mind when he was here in physical form. His brain was too busy." And then he showed me the greatest visual. He showed me two aquariums side by side, both filled with water. He said, "Mom, it's like everybody in physical form is in one aquarium and we in the spirit world are in the other. And if the waves and the water in either aquarium is rippling too much, we can't hear each other. So you have to learn to be calm and silent a little bit every day and listen." So that several of the speakers before me have talked about that stone in the pond and sending ripples out. We have to get the still pond first, so those ripples are felt. So I have a lot of tools and techniques for connecting better with the one field. That's my goal, to help everybody experience personally that you are a soul. One of my favorite tools is to be using what I call the human soul dial. Picture a fuel gauge on a car where we have E empty on one side and F full on the other. You have a dial within you. Just use your intuition. Are you more dialing up the human side of you or the soul side of you? You're both at once, but this dial is constantly going back and forth. Right now, everybody listening to this program is much more towards the soul side. We're aware of who we are. We're aware of our oneness. Get out in traffic, boom, you get over on the human side. So with awareness, with presence, we can notice where we are. We can look at others and see where they are. And we control that dial. I find this tool so helpful for myself when saying, "Ooh, what I just said, That's a little bit too human. I'd much rather be more to the soul side. Now, there are many beautiful aspects of the human, but I know you get what I'm talking about. So this brings me to the main topic today about raising capital to make this goal of conscious living, helping others awaken that we're not only human, we're also souls by 2040. That's a challenge. We need to get people from here to at least past that tipping point, right? More towards the soul. I've given workshops all over the country for years, and I used to give them in little, what do we call it? What kind of spiritual churches, we'll call it. And many times the ministers did not like to charge a fee. They would put out a basket for a love donation. And I would give a 3-hour workshop, and many, if not most people, even in these spiritual places, would put $2 in the basket or $1. Because if you don't hold people's feet to the fire, that human fear about lack comes out. And I would sit there and say, they just don't realize the energy and the effort that goes into putting on a 3-hour workshop. How do you put a price on that? I don't know. But I knew that those same people would go out and spend $5 on a cup of coffee, right? That's human stuff. So when we give a program about raising capital, notice where your human soul dial goes. We get really enthusiastic as we hear these things. And that's because the soul is saying, you don't have to fear. Abundance comes back to you the more you give. The soul knows this. So I like to use a formula by a wonderful spiritual business leader named George Kao, K-A-O, who taught me when I tried to put a price on certain things that I charge for because I need to pay my staff, and just like Humanities Team needs to fund these platforms, the formula is enoughness plus compassion. What's enough for you to give that you're comfortable with, that it doesn't cause you fear, that will really help Humanities Team? And the compassion part, how much does your heart say to help? So when you're enthusiastic today and the soul is saying, yeah, you can give something, don't give till it hurts. Soul doesn't hurt. Just give till your heart opens enough and you have enough, and you realize there will always be enough because we are both human and souls. That's what living consciously is. It doesn't ignore our human side. It doesn't put down our human side. It acknowledges we're human and we have certain fears around money and things like that. But our soul just says, hey, give it all away. We don't do that either. Find that perfect balance, find the enoughness and the compassion, and then get out there and educate yourself more, experience your higher self, and engage all those angels who are here to help you. And boy, does that make life joyous, doesn't it? I'm so grateful to everybody on Humanities Team and to all of you for helping us know that, yes, in our human form, we are a family made up of what appear to be individuals, but at our deepest essence, that is the ultimate oneness, one light. I love you all. Thank you so much. Take it over, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Suzanne, for sharing your light and your wisdom with us. I want to invite the audience just to take a deep breath on everything that Suzanne just shared. Let's just breathe it in for a moment. And I think this was such a beautiful example of, as these wonderful luminaries are sharing their light and their wisdom, tap in and check your own level of energy. That vibration that's being shared here today raises our own. And that's what we're talking about here. Through your contribution, through each one of us contributing to the whole, we're going to raise consciousness, we're going to raise vibration here for humanity. Thank you so much. Our next guest is New York Times bestselling author Ken Honda. And Ken has impacted millions with his message, selling over 8 million books worldwide. From his financial experience as owner and director of several companies, his writings are halfway between finance and personal development, with special attention to how to create and foster personal wealth and happiness through self-analysis. Recently, Ken has joined the hashtag GiveFluencer network, started by John David Snyder. And this organization redefines what it means to be an influencer by putting the focus on giving back to your community. So excited to have Ken here with us today.
Hello, my name is Ken Honda. I'm the author of the book Happy Money and True Wealth. I'm so excited for this global event, and I'm so sorry that I cannot be there physically, but my heart and my soul will be there with you. We are learning together the new conscious way of living for the 2040. Even though it's not 2040, but we can start living in a totally new, loving way right now. So let's just create the space together. And if you feel the call, please support Humanity's team financially and emotionally. We need support from you, and then together, let's create a beautiful world. I imagine every day that in 2040, we respect each other, and then everybody will be smiling by doing what we love and share our hearts together. So let's create a beautiful world. And on this day, we are starting. Bye-bye.
Wonderful. So thankful to Ken Honda and that message. And so excited about our next guest, Jacqueline Way. Jacqueline is a dedicated world changer and world-renowned speaker. With her son, she created the charitable organization 365 Give with a simple vision to change the world one give, one day at a time. Her TEDx talk, How to Be Happy Every Day, It'll Change the World, is one of the most watched TEDx's in history. So welcome, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with everyone today. Namaste. Thank you for taking the time, and it's so great to see our community and most of all our family here. So thank you so much. You know, I'm so inspired by everyone here today, and I wanted to share a story with you, and it's a story of really what's possible, and it's about my son. And when my son was just 3 years old, we decided to set out on a little mission in this world, and we wanted to do one thing, the thing that everybody's talking about today. We wanted to do one thing to give back to the world. But guess what? It had to be so simple, a 3-year-old could do it, literally. So today, my son's actions of giving every day have literally inspired a global giving movement. It's why I'm here with Humanity's team, because we realize that all of the small actions we do every day can make a huge difference when we come together. And not only does it just make a difference to the people that we impact, but most of all, how it impacts me. And I think this has been my greatest lesson, and the lesson I wanted to share with you today is, you know, Suzanne just talked about this. She was talking about love. And what I believe is when we give that little bit of ourselves and we put it out into the world, that is love in action. And it's not just love in action because of our humanness, it's actually our soul's work in this world. It's taking what Neale Donald Walsch talks about all of the time, that we are pure love. And when we take that pure love that we are and we give a little bit out to the world, it's our opportunity for connection. It's our opportunity to make family with the other people here in our room. You know, Steve was talking about the 8 million people that, you know, have to make things different to have a conscious planet. But then he said, well, we can take it down to 10%, right? And then we're talking 800,000 people. Well, just imagine that if we had everybody here today, everybody that listens to this video, everybody that's part of Humanity's team, which Steve has actually said is now millions, we actually only need a few 100,000 of us to give just $5, and we've met our goal. 300,000 people times $500, or sorry, times $5 each. That's our $1.5 million goal. It's done. So it's no longer somebody having to give 25,000 or $500,000 or anything else. But if today we all took a little love from our hearts, we took something we could all afford, $5, and we gave it, and I'm going to be the first one doing it today, we would in no time at all reach that goal that's going to fuel this team, our family, to keep creating the world that we all want to live in. I have 3 young boys. And I gotta tell you, they had a rough start in this world. They're beautiful, adopted little boys. And I am going to do everything in my possible power, every breath, every day, to make sure that the next generation, they actually have a planet to live on. They actually have hope. They have love in their hearts, and they're going to be the generation that takes what we're doing right now and they're going to move forward. They're going to move forward with love. As Ken just said, they're going to move forward with happiness, because that's what's going to change the world when we can take love in action, take it from our wallets, take it from our hands, take it from our hearts, and give it out. So I'm so happy to be part of this team. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm just going to encourage you. It's my opportunity and my message to you today, $5. That's all we need to do. Neale always tells the story about how when he was homeless, people would give him 25 cents. And it was enough, because by the end of the day, he would have his $5. He could afford a meal. He could afford maybe a pillow, put his head on that night. So it's all those little bits together when we can change the world together. Steve, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me as part of this community. You all inspire me. I love you so much. And I wish everybody a beautiful day on purpose.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline, for your beautiful message. Okay, everyone, our next guest is Paul Tarell, and he is a seasoned media and technology executive who recently joined Humanity's team as a strategic advisor. The former CEO of Gaia, he now focuses on synthesizing information, insight, and intel across a variety of topics and disciplines, with an eye on bringing the best and most critical learnings forward so the global tribe of humanity can grow and thrive together. Paul is a big picture thinker, a dreamer, a doer, and a proud Eagle Scout who understands leadership is action, not position. Herein serveth to all with a mission to change the world, starting with himself. Thank you for being here, Paul.
Thanks for having me. Just real quick, in my intro is CFO, not CEO. I just want to make sure that's clear. Yeah. And then, so thanks for being here. I was going to jump into what I had prepared, but I saw someone's comment that 800,000 is manageable, not 800 million like Steve has aspirations for. And I want to share that over my 10-year period at Gaia, where we transitioned from a yoga products company that was selling widgets out in the world with no real impact in terms of spirituality, we decided to, in 2013, start building a direct consumer streaming platform and bring our DVD content directly to consumers through the, at that point, very nascent streaming technology. We started with 0. And when I left a year ago, we were over 800,000. So and that was 10 years. And that was a for-profit company that was focused on building a subscriber base for a mission that was evolving global consciousness, but also for the benefit of shareholders that weren't necessarily directly aligned to that mission. And so if we could do that in 10 years at that time when streaming was just coming online and there wasn't the number of people that are connected today, think about what we could do now with the intention and mission behind Humanity's team and what we can do as we think about extrapolating 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 continuing to grow, right? There's a lot of opportunity here to spread this message in a much more rapid way. And that's what I'm very excited about. I too have 2 small children that went on the journey with me at Gaia. My daughter was actually born 10 weeks early, about a month and a half into my tenure at Gaia, after my wife and I had moved here from San Francisco. And part of my spiritual awakening and journey was that experience happening simultaneously to effectively birthing and growing what is now Gaia, along with Jirka Rysavy, the chairman and founder, and the founding team that was there. And so as I built that company with the team there over 10 years, what I started to feel was a little bit of misalignment in terms of the spiritual calling that I had to evolve global consciousness and help us all wake up to the understanding that we are all fundamentally interconnected. And it's not I win at your expense, because if I win, you lose. And at the end of the day, you and I are the same, and we are all fundamentally interconnected. And so I had a calling to move on from Gaia about a year ago. And I've been exploring my own path. And as I was transitioning out of there, I got connected with the humanities team folks, and Steve. We're both in Boulder, and I am very excited to be a part of helping this get to the next level. And I know we're running up on time, so I won't speak too much more, but I would say time and money will help us go that much faster, but also energy and attention and just spreading the word of humanities team. We did spend lots of money to raise awareness when I was at Gaia. We can spread that same level of awareness with just word of mouth with the people that are on this call and getting more and more people involved. So even if you don't have $5 a day to give, share the word of what humanities team's about, because you never know as you're out interacting with people where this might resonate and how it might come back and feed the overall energy that is building and growing behind this movement and its mission of making conscious living pervasive by 2040. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for that important message and for being here with all of us. Our last but not least presenter is Ross Hostetter, and Ross is an advisor to Humanities Team, assisting the executive director in strategy, fundraising, and legal matters. He's a lawyer, author, father, thought leader, and founder of several initiatives designed to raise consciousness and make this world a more peaceful and harmonious place. So happy to have you here, Ross.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hi, everybody. I'm Ross Hostetter, and I am here to invite you to partner with Humanities Team and to support us financially. I want to open with a story. Steve and I, based on the generosity of Olivia Hansen, Trent Block, and other people that are on the call, we were able to go to Europe just a couple months back. We went to the Cannes Film Festival. And the reason why we went there is that it's one place in the world. It's a beautiful place, but it's a place in the world where all kinds of people get together. All kinds of creative people are there. People are there with big ideas. People are there doing deals and changing, money is changing hands. And we went over just to see whether or not we could meet some influencers, whether or not there were funders that were there that could be interested in helping us out. And I think to have a little fun too. So one of the parties that we went to was a black tie dinner, and Steve and I were walking around like penguins, right? We've got our black tie outfits on. He looks a lot better in his tux than I do, by the way. But one of the people there that was a keynoter was Magic Johnson. This is Magic Johnson, the basketball player. And to meet him in person, I mean, he is huge. He's a big guy. He comes in his limo. He starts smiling. Everybody wants a picture with Magic, and they want to do all of that. And the guy is just kind of going through the motions, and he's bored out of his mind. He's tired of smiling and, just snapping pictures with everybody and all that kind of stuff. So it came to our turn kind of late in that whole thing. And we asked him a question. We said, Magic, have you ever had an awakening experience? And he lit up and said, well, yes, I have. And said, well, what was it? And what he recounted was when he was a little boy, when he was poor with 9 kids, poor, household, living in not a great neighborhood, that he followed the example of his mother. And everybody in the neighborhood was poor. They were all grabbing stuff. Nobody had the things. There was theft. Everybody was trying to get more and everything like that. And his mother said, that isn't the way to do it. If you want to get out of here, what you have to do is learn to give instead of what everybody else is doing here, which is learning to get. And so he took that message to heart, and that kind of became his whole motif for basketball, to give the ball away to people that were in better positions to make a basket, to give money away, to give his time away and everything like that. And, he's become a centimillionaire doing it. So the thing that I learned from him and also from myself and the people of the Humanities team is that when you give, you can't be greedy. Those two things don't happen at the same time. When you give, you can't be selfish. You're kind. And when you give, you get into a flow state that has some different assumptions about how reality works. It's like Suzanne and some of our speakers were talking about, it assumes that we're living in an abundant universe. And that as you give your time away, if you give your money away, more is going to come. And that's been true in my own life, and I'm going to tell that story in just a second. But what I want to just note here is that you're on a call with a bunch of givers. Everybody here in this call is giving their time away. Steve has given his time away for over 21 years, without compensation, $1 million into the organization. I'm giving my time away, probably 1,000 hours this year to Humanities team. And that's a really valuable substance to me. And people pay me a lot of money for it, And so, but nonetheless, it is so fun to get into a group of givers and what happens when that happens. So, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And I think that everyone here, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think everyone here has a belief that humanity has a huge untapped potential, that our collective potential is incredible. And if we want to start to unlock that potential, well, where do we start? There's a lot of places to start. But one place to start is at the root of the root of the root of how things get created in this world. And they get created with consciousness. That's what's at the root of the whole creative process. So, what in the world is that? What's consciousness? Well, it's not something that's out there, okay? It's something that we see from. It is a capacity that we develop. And it turns out that consciousness can evolve. Actually, it can become trained. It can become educated. And that is what Humanities team does. It educates consciousness. So, what do I mean by that? Just to put, in a nutshell, well, it has skills that it can develop. Like Suzanne was saying, there's spiritual technologies that consciousness can learn and develop. It can learn to develop a witness capacity, so it can see thoughts, it can see itself and see the world. It can learn skills like using the creative power of love in this world. Teilhard de Chardin says, when we wake up to the fact that we have this creative power, it's going to be like discovering fire. And it's not power over anything. It's a power that flows throughout this universe that we can begin to use and tap into to make changes, not only for ourselves, but for the entire context around it. We can develop practices like meditation or generosity. We can develop feeling states like joyfulness and flow states. Well, why would we be interested in anything like that? It's fun. There doesn't have to be any reason to do that. And it attracts really wonderful people around you. It has beliefs that can be changed, like a belief that we're living in an abundant universe that has our back. It has a mission that you can get into. And the mission here is that, we have a humanity to evolve, and we can become heroes and heroines in that story. We can become a hero in our own story. We can adopt a mission. So it does change, it does evolve, and it has a capacity. And once it begins to grow up, it wants different things than the child wanted. Okay, the child wants things for itself. The child wants sex, money, power, all that sort of stuff. The higher levels of consciousness don't want that. And it's not like a lot of forced, effort. You just want to start to give. You want to start to love. You want to start to create and to use some of these powers and capacities. So I'll tell you a little bit of story. When I started to get into HT and began this giving journey, it's amazing what happens. My life is much different than it was just a year from now. I decided to do an experiment a year ago to basically say, well, what if I just started to say yes? What if I started to say yes to everybody that was asking me for help that was aligned with this general mission? What's happening in my life is just unbelievable. You just take a look at like the last 5 days. You know, a woman comes into town and she says, I want your help to help 600 underprivileged kids in San Antonio that are going to be put down the sewer and essentially used as like slave labor in this society. Kids that have never had even a single parent graduate high school all the way in their family history. Can you help me? Yeah, I think I can. Can you help me do a film that is showing what the women in Ukraine are doing to use the power of Kundalini yoga to heal the country? Yeah, I think I can do that. How about 1,000 acres in Oregon I want to put under conservation so it can become a demonstration site for regenerative agriculture? This is just in the last 5 days. And these are all just side projects relative to what we're doing at Humanity's Team and the people that are involved and the energy that's there. It's phenomenal. It's fun. The fire hose that begins to open up. And a lot of you don't know me, but you know, I'm nothing special. I'm not some great spiritual adept. And when I talk to my guides about all of this, they say, you know, yeah, you know, you could probably get a bunch of, you know, spiritual powers and stuff like that, but we're pretty happy with the kit that you have right now. Why don't you use it? Why don't you use the resources that you have right now and see what happens? So that's the experiment that I'm doing when we're saying yes. And to invite everyone in this call, what we want to do at Humanity's Team is we want to continue to say yes. That's what we want to do. Well, what do we want to say yes to? Well, we want to say yes to the people that want to work for us. It's not like we have to go out and do recruiting. People are knocking down our doors, like Paul and me, you know, so we would love to work for you. We have geniuses in the tech world is saying, you know, I would love to get out of what I'm doing right now and come and work for you. We don't have to find them. They're finding us. And we would like to say yes and say, okay, great. We give you a living wage when you come. Okay. That's what kind of this 1.5 million that we're talking about is all about, just to build, you know, a really robust team and a platform that's going to be able to do these further big things. Well, what else do we want to say yes to? Well, we want to say yes to the 65 country coordinators we have right now. We want to help them. How much does it take to educate them in consciousness and get them started in a business and get them helping their world? Well, how much does a college education cost? It costs a lot, you know, to really fund all those people, bring them here to the United States or go to them and really begin to empower them to work in Uruguay and Bulgaria and Peru and all the different places that they want to do. We want to say yes to that. In my function, I want to say yes to donors. So Trent Blanco may be on the call here. We've had a discussion the other day. He wants to give his entire estate to Humanity's Team. And he's got a huge real estate portfolio, you know, scattered around the United States. But in order to take that kind of a gift and take it in kind, we have to develop capacities to take it, to handle it, to manage things like that. And so we want to say yes to that so that we can build our endowment and allow things to come. We want to say yes to all of our teachers. You know, people don't like the folks on this call, like Stephanie and Suzanne, everybody, they want to go out and spread the word. Okay. They're devoting their entire lives to that. That's what they're doing for a living. And we want to empower them to do that. And like Paul's talking about, to amplify these megaphones and platforms. And that takes, you know, millions of dollars to be able to really be able to do that well. We want to say yes to our science team that wants to explore the nature of consciousness and how it's measured. We want to say yes to creating sustainable business structures for ourselves and for other people that are in this community. But above all, we want to say yes to everyone that wants to find their role in this story. And we want to help them find their role. So that's what we're going to do, you know, if we can just get the resources to do it. And as Steve said, time is critically important here. it's critically important for most of us. And, living in the Western world, we're pretty cushioned from the shocks that are happening. But the interconnective fiber of this world is getting seriously frayed, and it needs a new pulse to get us connected back together and to get into a fundamentally different story. So I'm going to close with a little story. The story is this: there was a homeless person. The homeless person is talking to God, and he's saying, "Oh my God, if I can just win the lottery, all my problems will be solved. I'm going to devote my life completely to you. I'm going to devote my life to the homeless people that I know about. I'm going to do nothing but give, everything away." God says, "Great, great." Second day says, "Man, I haven't won the lottery yet, but if you just let me win the lottery, I could do all these great things in this world." Third day, same thing. God knocks on his door and said, I need your help." And the guy says, "Well, you're God. You need my help?" He said, "Yeah." Well, what do you need?" "I need you to buy a ticket." Okay. So this is really what we're talking about here. We need folks to buy a ticket, get on this train with us, and to just become part of it, because it's just so highly energizing and fun. And like Suzanne was saying, that dial is going to get moved over, and you're going to like it, and your life's going to change for the better. Mine certainly has. So I know that money is an incredible tool. It can flow across boundaries. It can produce a lot of things. And folks that have it have a special role in this movement, because they get to decide what's going to happen and what's going to be made real or not. It's a very special founder's generative role. And I know that many of you are, money's important to me. I've got a family, got 3 kids, my wife, Mary, home, all of that kind of stuff that, to support. But many of you also have resources that at the end of your life, you're not going to need. You're not going to need them for the human scale that Suzanne was talking about anymore. And so I think a lot of this abundance that we're looking for is probably going to come through that vehicle, when you don't need it anymore and you are willing to give a gift to the world. And I just want to say this: we can make that sound like a whole bunch of generosity, but actually you're giving it to yourself, because this team does have the tools, the people, and the technology to continue to work with you when you're made the transition and you're no longer in this physical form. It's not like we're going to lose you. We're going to be talking to you, and you're going to be sitting in some place where you can see a more expanded consciousness, a more expanded world. And you're going to have some ideas that we probably haven't even thought of yet about how it's going to be used. And I guess some of you may be in your last lifetime here. I'm not. I know that I'm not. I'm going to come back and do something. And so what we're doing is preparing a world for you. When you're going to come back again, and for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of other people like you. So it is going to take a big thing. And I know that this sounds incredible. And I'll just give up my last little bit by just saying, thank you so much for letting me have some time here. This whole idea of this 100 million that we need started, I was in Copenhagen, and I was at an impact investment forum. All the big funds in the world were there. There were not just millions of dollars, or not just hundreds of millions, but there were thousands of millions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars sitting in this room. And looked around and just said, well, there isn't a dollar here that's being spent on the root of the cause. There's not a dollar that's being spent on consciousness, not one. So, what would it take to really do this tipping point? And, my answer was, well, about $100 million. Well, what kind of return can we get from that? Everybody wants a 10x return, right? So can we, with every dollar, can we convert 10 souls? Yeah, actually, with the multiplication, we can do that. So it's just a phenomenal time. It's a great time to be alive. And I just want to thank you so much for your time. I know I ran over just a little bit, Steve, and, but I appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you all and working with you. And I'm going to put my number in the chat. If you want to think about making a legacy gift or something like that, I sure want to talk with you. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you for sharing your amazing purpose and your passion with us, and for saying yes and inviting all of us to say yes as well. And so now I'm going to turn it over to you, Steve, as we're wrapping up this amazing event.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much. Wow, for being our MC here for this event. Wonderful job. Thank you. And your own sharing. And a huge thank you, gosh, to these leaders that have all come on camera. Ross and Olivia and Paul, Suzanne, Debra, Ken Honda, Jacqueline Way, Neale Donald Walsch. Thank you. Wow. And most of all, you, the viewers that have been with us here today, thank you so much for being with us. We, as you can tell, wow, we have a passion. So yes, there's a huge aspiration here. It's not our aspiration, you know. We've been sharing. This is a calling. This was the aspiration was downloaded to us. The Awaken the World to Oneness, we called it 21 years ago in June 2003. Now make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040. The Awakened Way, you know, as Suzanne brings in her own terminology, the terminology actually brings us all to the same mountaintop. So, you know, the mountaintop is this beautiful mountaintop where we pass this gorgeous, beautiful, blessed planet that we grew up on, because most of us are probably boomer generation here, to our kids, nieces, nephews, future generations, that where they get the planet back that we grew up on. And once again, the hardest part of this journey is behind us. I know that's saying a lot, but I believe it's true. The hardest part of this journey is behind us. But there's a whole lot ahead of us. And so we are rocketing toward this mission, you know, of creating, just coming back to support the needs of the planet and the needs of the people, which is what we naturally do. You know, it's why we call it conscious living, you know, where we're conscious of the science that says that we're all deeply connected, that there's one presence. The scientists sometimes say this universal consciousness that's animating all of life, right? We've all heard this. So this is this oneness. This is this conscious living thing, so that we're a part of, where we're aspects of each other in the planet, in the universe. And just like Ross and so many of these speakers shared. So what this means is, you know, what we give to this activity, to this project, we give to each other, and we give to ourselves, because there is only one. At the end of the day, there's only one presence in the room. That's what our bigger self is. So thank you. Thanks for being here. Spread the word, okay? Because we're 3 degrees away, right? So some of you might be close to big philanthropic organizations or corporations or groups of people or individuals that are concerned about today's world. Gosh, isn't almost everybody concerned about today's world? And a lot of them would think of this as moonshot philanthropy, where they'd say, well, you know, it's a long shot, but it's the one thing that actually heals everything, the planet, ourselves, etc. It's true that it is the one thing that heals the planet, ourselves, etc. And it's true, maybe we can use the term moonshot because we're going to the moon all the time now. What's the big deal, right? Take some effort, energy, devotion, and some funding, but you know, what's the big deal? So let's go to the moon. Let's make it happen. And if for no other reason, let's do it for our kids, our nieces, our nephews, and future generations. So thank you all.
Yeah, I just want to say that Dee's put a donate button in the chat. If you guys would be willing to just click on that, I think that would be, we could do something right now.
Yeah. Click on that donate button right now. If you resonate with our message, you know, just if everybody gives something, as has been pointed out by so many, we can get there. And again, spread the word. Okay, invite people. Where people are concerned about the storms, you know, the hyperbolic curve that is what's happening with extreme weather, because pain is pushing, right? say, hey, let's we don't need to worry. Let's just do something about it. Let's contribute to Humanities Team. Let's join Humanities Team. We are all one. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And love, peace, and blessings. And thanks again, Stephanie, for being our MC here today, and to all of you. And Ross, any final words here, my friend?
I think you have it, Steve.
Okay.
So much love to everyone.
Yeah, so much love to everybody. Love and peace and blessings, everybody. This is the beginning. Now